Thank you very much for staying with Facing the Nation. And once again, thank you very much to Mr. Trevor Ben, the Commissioner of the Guyana Lands and Surveys Commission, for being here. Of course, that was the first part of our program. As I did mention to you earlier, that the second half of our program is designed to focus on what is a very, very important sector for Guyana. That is the teaching sector. Today, it is my pleasure to have from the Guyana Teachers Union, the president of the Guyana Teachers Union, Mr. Lyte, and of course, he is accompanied by the General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union. Of course, she's no stranger to you. Neither is Mr. Lyte, but I think she's a little more popular. I have to give give it to the woman today, Mr. Lyte. So sorry about that. Of course, the GTU General Secretary, Miss Coretta McDonald. Welcome to Facing the Nation for the first time to you both. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having
Thank you for having us.
All right, great. Well, for some, it's a very touchy issue. What's happening regarding sentiments you're hearing from the Guyana Teachers Union and regarding our teachers and regarding salaries. So sometimes we say it. Let's just get the elephant out of the room. First off, Mr. Lyte, I know for months you've been championing the cause of the teachers and you've been asking for this raise of salary and so on. Let's first talk about what it is that the GTU wants, just to put the conversation into context, what it is that the GTU currently wants but is not seem to be getting.
Well, good afternoon to everyone, and again, thank you for having us on here
You're
today.
Welcome.
The Guyana Teachers Union sets out as its part of its objective to represent and to promote salaries and other non-salary benefits for teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have entered into 2 multi-year agreements prior to 2015. And within those multi-year agreements, there were some things that we championed with the government of the day, such as the bunching, duty-free concessions. We recognize that over the period, some of these things that we had agreed on never materialized. Mm-hmm. And so we started to talk with this new administration, in fact with the last administration at the end of their term, as to how those things like the debunching could have been achieved, knowing that the period for that last multi-year agreement was coming to an end. We didn't get very far in terms of our talk with the last administration, especially as it relates to debunching. And as such, when the new administration took office, we decided that we're going to pursue that particular issue. What we are not happy about, especially as we represent the nation's teachers, we have about 12,000 teachers that we represent, is the fact that commitments are given and they are not upheld. And we have an issue with that because we feel that when we go out there after some deliberation with the administration as to the way forward, we feed that information to our members, who in turn hold us to what we would have disseminated to them. And the debunching in particular, we sat with the Ministry of Education and we agreed in principle that we are going to have the debunching done as 1% of the teacher's wage bill for 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15. That document, we have a copy of that, was given to us, and we agreed in principle that we're going to accept that 1%. It has been quite a while now, I should say. It's about the 4th or 5th month since we are told that it was sent either to Cabinet or to Minister Harmon. I'm not sure where it's at because you're getting different kind of feedback. A decision cannot be made in terms of how and when the teachers will be paid.
All right. I can jump right in here and tell you that currently, as we speak, it is not with the minister's status, somebody who works in that office. What was the last word that you got on on the document? You're not sure where it is at this point?
But we know it was sent to the Ministry of the Presidency.
Okay.
So based on the correspondence we received from the Minister of Education and the Permanent Secretary, that it was sent there for, the requisite green light.
But you're still waiting.
We haven't heard anything since on it.
All right. Well, hopefully this broadcast will also help to speed up the process. Let me just bring General Secretary McDonald into the conversation here. In listening to Mr. Lyte, in terms of championing the cause and so on for teachers, especially in terms of salary increase, what is the current salary of, the average salary, I should say, of our teachers now?
All right. First of all, thanks for having me here. And it's always a pleasure when we can share information with our teachers who are anxiously awaiting not only all the information that we want to share, but in particular, salary increases. But coming back to what we started talking about in terms of salaries and where we are and what is happening, I must say that we are disappointed. That we were promised, after having all these meetings with our counterpart, the Ministry of Education, we were promised that maybe there's a possibility that we'll have that payment done before the 50th anniversary in May. That did not happen. And then we were promised that we are going to have that payment made in July, before the end of this school year. Our teachers are still waiting. We are still waiting. Like Prezi said, we're not sure where the document is at this time, because what we were told is that this document went to it was sent to the Ministry of the Presidency to be deliberated at Cabinet meeting, and then we'll have the outcome on that. I'm not sure where that is right now. And because we cannot have that payment being done, it is putting a back pedal on everything else with regards to our new proposal, because so far all we would have done during our negotiations is to agree particularly on the non-salaries issues, but all the issues that deals with finances, we cannot go forward because the bunching has a lot of bearing in terms or on the salaries of teachers. But coming to what is a salary of a teacher, a TQM, which is a temporary qualified master mistress, would receive somewhere around $51,000. And that would be his or her gross salary. After having been taxed and that kind of thing, you will receive maybe $46,000. And of course, you know, when we look at house rent and the electricity bill and so on, you know what we're talking about. And hence our reason for asking for 40% in our new proposal. We know for sure that we might not be able to get 40%. But of course, as teachers, we always say to our children, aim for the skies. And so the Guyana Teachers Union wouldn't do anything.
Let me jump in here. What do you say to people who are saying that your proposals, and of course this is to quote what I've been seeing being reported, your proposal may be a bit unreasonable. How do you respond to that?
I have to laugh because you know what? Some of the very people who would have said to us, something is wrong with you people. Your heads ain't good. We have seen other persons joining us asking for 40%. Asking for debunching, asking for so many of the other benefits that we're asking for. So when I hear people talk about, make comments that we're being unreasonable, I just smile, or we would smile at it. Because many times, whatever comes out of the GTU's agreement, over the years you would know, whatever came out of our agreement is what every other sector of worker would get. And so we have comforted ourselves with the fact that GTU is always a leader, and we will lead and others will follow. So, you know, when we set that pace there, others will have to come up to it, and we've seen that happening.
All right, great. Viewers, if you're now tuning in, of course, the second conversation is about what's happening with our teachers. As you know, GTU would have been asking in the past months, not only in months, they've always been championing the cause. Over the years, they've been championing the cause of teachers, and of course, they're basically, and this, the purpose of this, because I know you've heard from them before, but the purpose of having them on here today is a sense to just give another voice, for our teachers, and of course for the Guyana Teachers Union, who speak on behalf of our teachers. Salaries aside, what else are you, and this is to both of you, either of you can jump in on this, what are you asking or what are you expecting now, more so from the Ministry of Education, for our teachers countrywide?
Apart from salaries, we recognize that our teachers work in some places under very appalling conditions. Having said that, there's the conditions under which they work, the infrastructure, they are given not adequate and relevant materials. We know that in some regions, the regions purchase for the schools and just supply, totally ignoring what are the needs within the school. And so we've been asking the ministry to ensure that schools are given grants, where the schools can now say these are the needs that we're having, and that so budget according to that and purchase what they need, rather than give us toilet brushes and things that should represent things that should represent what they should be using to do stuff. They're not, not of a certain standard. So we've been asking for that to be rectified. I know in some places that the regions are having discussions as to the way forward with that. We also believe that the infrastructure, many of the buildings are infested with bats and rodents and other things that cause teachers to become sick, and even children. We've had cases where in some schools, a school in West Demerara had to be closed sometime 2014 because there were snakes in the school. We need our ministry to pay more attention to ensuring that our teachers are working in a safe environment. We also have issues with security at schools. You are aware that there's a lot of violence, not only coming from parents, but from children. And we recognize that our teachers are in danger because the security service that is being offered is extremely poor. Usually we have persons who are not very able employed as security guards. They take about 5 minutes to get up and open the gate, so you can know no disrespect to those individuals, but we need vibrant people. And one of the issues as to why they cannot attract, the security services cannot attract able-bodied individuals because of the salaries that are being offered, and in some cases they are not being paid in a timely manner. So we want that to be looked at. We also would like, as we talk about security, schools must be properly fenced. We've been talking about that because in many schools the fence, some don't have fence, some do, and when they do, they're broken in parts. We also have been championing the cause of professionalism. We feel that many of our education officials, many of them who were once teachers, they treat teachers as though they are almost doormats. The way they speak to our teachers, we feel that it's unprofessional. We've been speaking with the Chief Education Officer on this matter. Our teachers are professionals and must be related to in a professional manner. They must not be chased. Sometimes the teachers go to the departments and they have to wait there when they're told Wednesdays would be the day to meet teachers. Teachers go there and they sit from whatever time, and they're passed up and down, and nobody pays attention to them. So we feel that there needs to be some professionalism program being done at the level of the education officials. We also have, and I can speak on this particular issue, there's a situation in Region 10 where some teachers were put on administrative leave since last year, December.
And they're being paid.
They are being paid, but those teachers are asked to remain at home because of an incident.
And being paid monthly?
They're being paid monthly. And we've been asking the CEO to intervene in this matter.
So as far as you know, were new or additional teachers hired to fulfill their functions?
No.
So what's happening is
well, they're doubling up in the school.
There's a strain on teachers.
Right. So those are some of the issues. We also have class sizes. We're talking about better education and a level of education. We find that many of the classes are too large. So we've been asking the ministry to look at class size. If we want quality, it's not going to be quantity. We need to ensure that our teachers are given manageable class sizes. We also have issues where there are no substitutes provided in the schools. Teachers go on maternity leave for 3 months, a female teacher. There's no replacement. There's no system in place to put somebody. What happens is another teacher has to split that class with another teacher. So the classes go to about 50, sometimes 45, and that amount until that teacher returns. So we need to have a system. And I'm saying these are all structural issues that must be put in place by this Ministry of Education.
Let me ask you this. Does the GTU have a policy or a process whereby, and I'm asking this against the backdrop that school will be reopened for the September term, just in a few short weeks. Do you have a process, a procedure, or a system where you can do checks to see how, I mean, I know this is, I'm not trying to take the job of the Ministry of Education, but do you have a process whereby you can probably check with teachers and schools to see how prepared we are? Because often, it has happened in the past, several times in the past, sometimes we hear a week or two before this school or these schools are not ready for the September term. Do you have a process whereby you can address that, where you can check for yourself?
Specifically, the Guyana Teachers Union would not have a procedure in terms, because that is not our mandate, but whenever we are told about a school, it's reported to us, we will visit and we will make representation, but we don't have the capacity to visit all the schools in all the regions to look at their state of readiness. That is left to the Ministry of Education. But if we are told, we will go in and have a look and make representation for those schools that we are told about.
It's coming up to wrap-up time, and even before I go back to General Secretary McDonald, I read that you had, and this is a fact of course, that we have a shortage of male teachers, and you were indeed concerned about that. Again, salaries aside, what are some of the things you think we can do to attract males back into our schools? Male teachers.
Well, I did mention one of the main issue would be what are we offering these males salary-wise? Because those same men would have to provide for their homes, and so we grow in a culture where the man is seen as the chief breadwinner, and so if he cannot provide, he cannot have an adequate salary to take care of his family, that's going to be a problem. We also recognize that because of the fact that we have so many female teachers in the system, our boys are not seeing teaching as a profession that they can pursue. So everybody is a miss. I'm a head teacher of my school, and the children accidentally, they're accustomed to so miss. They accidentally call you miss, and you have to stop it. And then they, okay, sir, sorry. But the children in some primary school, there are no males. But we can't talk about nursery school because we don't have.
We just have a few.
We have any? I don't know of any nursery male teachers. And if one goes there, he's stigmatized.
Yeah, because there's the very tender age. The children at a very tender age. So
there is an issue. There's a problem, and we also have that issue where our males are not really doing well educationally. So in terms of competing for the teaching jobs, the girls will outshine them because the females generally do well or better at the CSEC examination. So we would have to look at ways, and one of the things I think that we can change that is to ensure that we have some sort of a balance as we are employing, ensure that males, because we need males in the system for disciplinary reasons. We need males so that a man being there to be a model to other young men to say, look, I can be like sir.
Okay, General Secretary McDonald, what is the current relationship with the Teaching Service Commission, GTU and the Teaching Service Commission? And I see you're laughing.
Let me say to you that as far as we're concerned, as GTU, we are still partners with the Teaching Service Commission. The issue is that as any concerned citizen, and more so as a parent, let me bring it down to that. If you recognize that things aren't going well with your children, then you would want to intervene. And that's what we've been doing over the years. We've been saying to the Teaching Service Commission, the commissioners there, that we are not satisfied with the manner in which they do their appointments. And we need to have this entire policy program, whatever it is, being looked at. Because I can say to you, teachers are being assessed, they are being appraised by their head teachers. Every year you have to be appraised. Now, on that appraisal form, the teacher ends up with A, which is about what, 95, wherever, 95, 97%, 90 and above. You end up with A. Your district education officer would sign off on that form. Your regional education officer would sign off on that form. But yet, when the teacher applies for promotion, on the application form, there are times when the teacher is being ranked as not eligible, not ready for promotion. But these are the same people who sometimes give us the A's and they sign off on these A's. And when that goes into the Teaching Service Commission and they're ready to do their appointments, instead of looking at all that would have been there for the teacher, you only look at one comment which says the teacher is not eligible. And we're saying that that cannot be fair, because if over the years, and the appraisal is done, when you apply for promotion, you have to ensure that you have your appraisal for 3 years. Now, within that period, if you have 3 A's, and then for this one time you're ranked not eligible, there's nobody there who's giving that teacher a second chance, a second look to see, well, why is this teacher not eligible? There's no write-up to say why the teacher is not eligible. And so those are some of the things that we've been talking about. But I figure people just want to do what they feel like doing. As a matter of fact, we've seen teachers who are not eligible for promotion were appointed, were given senior appointments. And we're saying the scale is not balanced. And if we are to give to our teachers, and if we want our teachers to perform the way we expect them to, then we should make the play field level.
Okay, well, Ministry of Education officials, I know you're listening, and I trust that you will try your best to address these issues. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to wrap up our discussion today, but before I do that, again, I know the issue of salaries and what you've been promised and the feedback you're waiting on is very important. So before I wrap up our conversation, I'm going to give you another opportunity just to call on the Ministry of Education.
Yeah, we would like to call on the Ministry of Education and the government at large to look into the interests of teachers. I think when this new administration took office, a lot of teachers felt very excited based on what was said. And what was said is that teachers can look forward, nurses can look forward to a better salary, better working conditions. Having said that, there was some level of expectation. And to be fair, we have not seen much happening for our teachers that will give them the confidence to say, yes, this new administration means business. The minister goes out in the public and he talks about salaries for better salaries for teachers, and it's not happening. Even our own negotiations that would have started last January is not moving apace. We also feel as the union that things are moving too slow, and we'd want to see some pace, pick up the pace,
All right, great. Well, I trust that results will be had not only after this, but I know you've been on so many other media houses and so many other avenues talking. So I trust that there'll be some change after this. I promise to keep in contact with the GTU and to keep abreast with what's happening. Viewers, if you're missing this conversation, you've missed a very important conversation regarding our teachers in the teaching sector. Ms. Coretta McDonald, the General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union, and Mr. Lyte, the President of the Guyana Teachers Union. As usual, for those of you who missed this conversation, you can catch up with it on YouTube later on in the day and also on Facebook Nation. What I'll do is take a very quick break. On the other side of the break, it will be time to wrap up today's program. Stay tuned. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Unfortunately, this is where I have to say goodbye from today's program. Of course, I am Malika Ramsey. I always urge you, and of course, before I go, once again, thank you very much to both to all three of my guests, Mr. Trevor Ben, the Commissioner of the Guyana Lands and Surveys Commission, Ms. Coretta McDonald, the General Secretary for the Guyana Teachers Union, and Mr. Mark Lyte, President of the Guyana Teachers Union. I know for those of you who followed me on social media, you saw me talking about the fact that they would have also been joined by Mr. Lancelot Baptiste, but unfortunately he couldn't be here today. I always urge you to take care of yourselves, take care of each other, be good Guyanese citizens. Please be safe on our roads. We are still having too many traffic accidents. Of course, that is it for today's program. Do join me again next week. Until then, I'm Malika Ramsey. Goodbye.